Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on using iClicker assignments for active learning anytime. We're going to get started here in just a minute. But in the meantime, while we're getting the slides up, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items. First off, you are muted to minimize background noise. We're going to have quite a few people on today. So you're muted. If you have questions, though, please feel free to send them through the chat panel or the questions panel. We have folks standing by to answer your questions, and we're going to get to as many of them as we can today. If we don't get to all your questions today, we will follow up with you. Next thing, most popular question I always get is, are we going to send along the recording? And yes, we are. We're recording this, and you will get the recording within 24 to 48 hours. So what I'm going to do now that housekeeping is done, I am going to introduce your presenters for today. So we have Christina Treadway, our Director of Product for iClicker, and Diane Saad, our iClicker Product Manager. Chrissy is going to be giving us an overview of what assignments is, how it works, why we created it, and then Diane's going to walk us through specifically a feature demo, and we're going to get to see it live. So without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Chrissy to get us started. Chrissy, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. I think you're all seeing my screen if what I see is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize my toolbar and we'll get started. All right, so to start, we wanted to talk about why we actually made assignments. Engagement has always been at the core of iClicker, and assignments gives us even more opportunity to promote an active learning environment. Whether your course is synchronous or asynchronous, remote or in person, you now have an additional tool in your toolbox to encourage student participation. So with the increased use of remote learning activities, it's more important than ever that you'll be able to promote an engaging environment and a student community of learners in your course. Many of our existing instructors were seeking additional ways to use iClicker in conjunction with their learning materials, facing the enormous task of changing the way they teach with all new technology to do so. So when we set out to respond to this call, we wanted to ensure we were able to deliver something that not only filled this gap, but ensured that we had these lower stakes interactions with students and stayed true to the iClicker's promise of ease and effectiveness. We're extremely happy to report our new assignment feature allows us to deliver tools that are still simple and don't require a ton of work to get started. Many of the concerns that we heard over the last few months centered on how difficult many assessment and engagement platforms could be. So therefore, iClicker lets instructors avoid tools that could be time-consuming, not the right fit for your course, your materials, or sometimes even your students' wallets. So now that you know why we made it, it's important that we tell you exactly what it is. So assignments has been added as a new activity type in iClicker Cloud. That's in addition to the already available polling, quizzing, attendance that you're familiar with. It's available completely within the instructor web application, and in fact, you don't need the desktop application at all to start using assignments. Diane will show you this in just a few minutes, but it's really easy to get started using assignments with your existing course materials, and it doesn't require that you rewrite them or author them in iClicker. Once you set up an assignment and you open it up to your students, they'll be able to work through your questions at their own pace until a due date that you define. So how would you actually use this? And that's entirely up to you. Instructors can use assignments to gather feedback, promote participation, provide lightweight student assessment. Assignments extends iClicker's flexibility so that instructors can use it in a variety of ways. Like we mentioned, delivering courses online, in person, or at a scheduled class time, or even asynchronously. Best of all, students can still feel like they're a part of their course and an active participant from various locales and on their own time. Some of our instructors have already told us how they plan to use assignments, which I've highlighted a little bit in this slide. They want to use it to encourage participation, low stakes understanding and assessment, gauge student confidence before or after class, or even as a quick survey tool. So hopefully you guys will check some of these out and provide us with feedback on how you plan to use assignments if you do. Now you may be asking, well, iClicker, there are tons of other tools that do this. What's different about yours? And that's a really good question. We know there are a number of ways for you to distribute things like homework, tests, quizzes, all manner of information for your students. And some of those may be working great for you. But if they're not, or if you're looking for a supplement to any of these tools, or even if you're looking for a tool that works quickly and effectively, I think we might have something for you. Assignments maintains all the best things of iClicker's core product values. It's easy to get started by working with those existing materials that you already use, and it gives you options you need to teach the way that you want. Like we saw in that last slide, it's so flexible that you can choose to implement it in a variety of ways for your course, combining a survey, an assessment item, even a feedback loop for your students, all in one tool. You can easily manage in-class activities like attendance, polls, quizzes, alongside assignments to engage students in every aspect of your course. So while we were designing assignments, we spoke to a number of instructors to understand what would be most valuable if iClicker actually did this. By far, the two things that came up most often were maintaining iClicker's simplicity and flexibility. As instructors responded to adapting their courses this spring and summer, learning a tool that wasn't designed to be simple or to be easy proved to be a huge challenge to overcome. And we've continued that with assignments, including choices on whether you'd like to pre-grade items, if you want to offer points for responding and correctness, or even if you choose to grade at all. And last, but definitely not least, our students are always immensely important to iClicker. As compared to other courseware or assessment type systems, iClicker is perceived as a familiar tool that students associate more with engagement than with the higher stakes assignment coming from an LMS or even a homework system. This spring, we heard reports that iClicker felt like a comfortable way for instructors to encourage that student participation and get materials out to them without causing any additional stress. So with that, I will pass it along to Diane, who's going to show you what it looks like live and dive right in.
All right, great. Let's see. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. We can see your iClicker Cloud course list.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for getting for the nice setup, Chrissy. So to access the assignments, you'll want to go to your iClicker Cloud instructor website account. You get there by going to the iClicker.com website and signing in. I've already done that, and I've already logged into my account, and you can see here's my course lists of courses I've created. It's probably looks about similar to what most people have, a couple of courses here. I can, of course, create a new course, and but I've already created a course for this demo, so I'll be using that one today, which is this biology course. Okay, so I would click the course that I'm interested in working with, and one of the first things you'll notice is that there is this new area in the side navigation called assignments, coincidentally. This is live now. So what I'm showing you, if you haven't been to the instructor website in a while, you should definitely log in, check it out. This feature is available to you today. So right after the seminar, you can go out and practice, creating your own assignments. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click this area. And you can see that right now I don't have any assignments created, but there is this create assignment button here. So I'm going to go ahead and click create, and it opens up a short form for me to complete. Now I'm going to start by creating a homework assignment. All right, and this can be questions which perhaps I want to ask before class, make sure that students have done the reading and are coming to my class with a baseline understanding. It could also be something which I assign after class to make sure that I reinforce the material and that there's a little bit of assessment understanding of the day's class. We call this week 1 homework. And you can name this whatever is meaningful to you. This assignment name will be visible to the students, so you do want to choose something which makes sense to your students so that they can know exactly what you're going to be assigning here. All right, I then set the availability date. So let's say I'm going to make this for next week, It's going to be available on the 27th, Monday, and I'm going to give them until the 29th to get this done. So you can schedule your assignments ahead of time, set up your class, and schedule these to go out, and they'll become available on the dates that you have set here. The next thing to fill out are your points. Now, by default, assignments are created with 1 point for correct response and 0 points just for responding, so 1 point per question. But this is completely customizable. So, for example, I may decide, well, I actually want to give maybe 0.8 for correct response, but a little incentive just for responding. I'll give you 0.2 points. In this case, the points themselves total to 1, so that each question is worth 1 point. But that is not a requirement. You can customize these two values, the sum, however you like. All right. So I've named it, I've scheduled it, got the points. All that's left is for me to upload my questions. And to do that, I'm going to need to choose a PDF and upload it to the system. We go ahead and show you that these steps here are outlined visually. Is a little pop-up that you can pull if you ever need a refresher. But you can use any authoring tool that you are familiar with and you're comfortable with. There's no pre-authoring of content inside of our platform. We let you use the tools that you already are using and you're comfortable with. So PowerPoint, Google Slides, a Word doc. You just want to make sure that you have each question that you want to have in your assignment is on its own page or its own slide. Then you would just export or print to a PDF and upload the PDF. And each page of the PDF becomes an individual question in the assignment. Okay. We also provide you with a PDF example here. So if you want to, right after this webinar, jump into your own account and check it out, you can download this PDF example to upload and play around with assignments and with immediately with no effort on your side. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my file. The file I'm going to choose, I can show you here, is a PDF of some questions from, say, this is from a Google slide deck. And I just went ahead and did a print the PDF and saved it. You can see that some of my pages, some of my slides aren't questions at all. They're kind of introductory or organizational slides. And one thing you can do is clean up your PDF by removing these pages before you upload. However, we do allow you to remove pages after upload. So I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave these pages in here. But depending on how you like to work, you might want to remove these beforehand. All right. And the other thing to note is that I have each of my slides have one question on each slide, and I've laid them out so that the question is pretty much fills the entire slide, so that I'm maximizing the page to show my question. So these are just kind of some best practices that you can follow, so that students don't have to pinch and zoom the image to really read and see a clear visual of what you're asking. And the other thing is to note is, slides are naturally on landscape, but that is the recommended layout. So it's a couple of best practices when you generate your content PDF. All right, so this is the PDF that I have. It's a multiple choice question. I actually have a multiple answer question in here, which is a new question type that has not quite released yet. So this is a little bit early to show. I'm going to treat this like a multiple choice question, a numeric question, and a target question. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose the file. You can see it, read it, and it shows to me. I can replace it if I've chosen the wrong one, but that's what I want to go with. Go ahead and click the next button. It just takes a couple of seconds to upload, pretty quick. And here you can see it's pulled in the PDF, it's separated each page, and the 6 PDF pages are now 6 questions in my assignment. As I've already noted, the first 2 pages of the PDF weren't actually questions, so I do want to get rid of them, and it's very easy for me to do it here. If I didn't do it ahead of time with the PDF, it's no problem. I can just go ahead and delete them. All right, so these are 4 questions that are remaining. By default, the iClicker will assign these all as multiple choice. And for the first 2, that's fine. The third question, I do want to change that to numeric. And this last question to a target. Okay. Now I can also define what the correct answer is here. This is optional. I can certainly say that there's no correct answer, or I can grade it later. In this case, I'll go ahead and add some grades. This could be either B or D. So it's 34. Okay. And for target, I'm going to go ahead and select area. So I can define my answer key ahead of time, as I said, but this is optional. You can do it anytime after. And that's really all there is to it. I can just now click create assignment, and there it is. Shows up in my table on the assignments page. You can see it's got the information of the availability dates, the number of student submissions so far. I have 4 students in my roster, no submissions, which isn't surprising, especially since I just scheduled it and it's scheduled for next week. It's not even available yet. And as students submit the homework, you'll see this average score get dynamically updated. So these both submissions and average do change as students turn in their assignments. And you can go ahead and click into it to show the details. And this should look very familiar to our iClicker Cloud users. This as looking like our other activities when we look at polling, for example. So you have the thumbnail and type of question, the fact that it's graded, how many points. This layout all should look familiar. You click a question, it opens the grading side panel. You can see a larger view of the image. I can click the image to even see a larger view if you really want to make sure you have you read the question here. And as I was saying, you could grade it, change the grade here in the side panel. So although it's super handy to do all your grades set up on creation, you can also do it post creation. All right, and you can scroll through different questions. Okay, the other thing I want to show here is you have access to also change the assignment settings. Open that. If I wanted to change the name, adjust the schedule, or change the points, I can do that here. Okay. So that's kind of a quick run through of creating an assignment all the way through. Let me go ahead and create one other example of the assignment and then show you the student experience. So in this next case, I'm going to create an assignment that will be like a survey that I would send out before the first day of class. So first day survey. And this is going to be a great way to engage my students and make sure that if I put this in my syllabus and announce it, that they're starting in to think about the class even before they arrive, that make sure they have an iClicker account and that they're motivated to actually get in there and work on it before coming to class. So it's a great way to get your class set up by having an assignment even before the first day of class. So let's say class is tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and make it due tomorrow, and I'm going to open it now ahead of the class, the first day that we actually even meet. In this case, I'm going to make it a survey, kind of an icebreaker. So I don't intend to grade it. I don't want to have any points for a correct answer, but I do want to make sure that people are motivated to do it. So I do want to give some points. I'm going to give 0.5 for just answering a question. Okay. So once again, customize the points. I choose my file, first day of class assignment. Okay, and go ahead and create. This is only 2 questions right now, but this first one, I'm going to make that a short answer where students let me know what grade they think they're going to get, And this next one will be a multiple choice. Once again, this is more of a survey, so there is no correct answer. I'm not going to fill this out. Just go ahead and create the assignment. So here you can see my table fills out. Now you can see the first day surveys here. It's got the open badge up because it's available now. I actually started it immediately, so my students can see it. And no submissions yet, and the average score. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the student sides to see what it looks like to take that survey. I already have a student count that has the course added. There's no stats yet because I haven't run any polls or quizzes or anything, but in the assignment section for students, there is a first day survey assignment that's now available. You see it's 2 questions. It says when it's due. If I click into it, you see question 1. What grade are you hoping to get in this class? Well, aim high. That's what I say. So I'm going to go ahead and answer A. And how confident do you feel? I'm going to give myself most of the way there. And then I can review and submit. You can see I am given an overview before I do a final submission. Once the student submits their answers or submits their assignment, they won't be able to change their answer. So we do give that little warning. They are able to see the questions that they've answered. If there's any unanswered questions in the assignment, we do call them out so that the student is aware, you know, they have a bit of a warning before they do the final submission that they have something a question which they may want to go back and revisit to answer. The student can also leave without submitting, but they are prompted, you know, your answers are saved and you can return to finish before the due date. So the student's answers are saved, and I say I'll leave here, and it shows in progress. So that if the student decides that they will need to take a break, they want to, these questions are just, they're just too complex for me to answer right now. I'm going to go have some lunch. They do that, they come back, they say, okay, I want to resume this. Okay, you see my answer A is still in there. I can see, oops, and you know, my answer D is still here as well. I don't have to re-answer it. They're still there. If there were any unanswered questions, I could pick up where I left off and continue answering them. And then I can submit. All right, so once I submit, I get a little happy icon. I go to the assignment list. The assignment has been submitted and it's no longer clickable. So I said, once the student submits, they cannot change their answers. Okay. Now on the instructor side, go ahead and refresh the browser. All right, you can see that I do have 1 submission and my average score is at 100% here. If I go ahead and click into it, you can see my class list. Diane, on top of things, has submitted it right away. 3 people, a little bit of slackers, did not submit yet. So even before the end date where the assignment closes, I can see who has submitted up to that point in time. Okay. And I believe that brings it to the end of what I intended to show for assignments. Well, I guess one other thing I will show while I'm on here is that from the assignments page, you have the export option. So I can choose, you know, 1 or more of my assignments and export the scores as a CSV. So I think Chrissy's going to talk about getting your scores out a little bit later, but I will point out that your export, your delete is here, and you know, you just have to select which of these you want to do that operation on, and you can certainly do that. When an assignment hits the due date and closes, it will drop from this table and go into the other tab of the past assignments. So the current assignments are all the open and upcoming assignments. And
Okay.
that's the end.
Thank you, Diane. I'm going to pass presenter back over to Chrissy.
So I think actually we may want to just hold on Diane for a moment because we are getting some questions in the chat around if we could see a better way of showing grading with short answer. So Diane, would you be able to show what short answer looks like for that assignment that you just created? And I will go ahead and submit some options for you so that you can show what other responses might look.
Sure. This guy here? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, what I would see here is all the questions would be coming in. It'd be a count of how many have responded to this.
So Diane, if you'll,
sure.
Yep, there we go. I put one in.
All right. So now we have 2 answers there. And you can see every unique answer will be a bar with which will show the number, the count, and the percent. I could just watch these come in. I can leave them ungraded as a survey, or if you wanted to grade, you could choose multiple, select all. This is just like polling in that sense, where you'll see every unique response and the count. Does that satisfy the question? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any further feedback, so I think we're good.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, Chrissy, I will make you presenter now. There you go.
Okay, are you guys seeing my screen again?
We are.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so that is what assignments looks like. We know that there are a bunch of questions. I can see some of them coming in the chat. We'll definitely get to some of those, but I did want to address some of the more common questions that are coming up as we've been rolling out assignments to instructors who are actually using it over the summer. So to start, what does the beta label actually mean? Well, it means there's a lot more that we want to do with this. So since many instructors were actively seeking to have iClicker with a solution for assignments, we decided to release it to all of you as early as possible. There are more features and improvements we want to add, and we're looking forward to more of our customers trying it out and giving us feedback so we can continue to iterate and make sure that this works as best as it can for as many people as it can. I will get a little bit after this into some of the next features that are coming out, and I see a lot of them being mentioned, so that makes me feel good that we are trying to get the next set out the door that meets the most needs. So what does it cost for you and your students? Well, iClicker is always free for instructors, and we have incorporated assignments into our core platform for students. So any students with existing iClicker access can start participating immediately. It is a part of the subscription, so if they have access time, if they're signing up for a new account, they can immediately start using assignments. If you're using a Macmillan product and you don't have iClicker, it can be bundled typically for $5 and is already included in the price of Achieve. And if you're interested in learning more, go to iClicker.com/pricing or contact us directly, and we'd be happy to talk to you about what pricing may exist for you and your students. Can my students complete assignments with remotes? So since assignments are meant to be done from anywhere and on the student's time, we don't currently support using remotes and the instructor base to respond to questions. Is there a limit to how many questions I can ask? So we don't actually encourage any or enforce any limits to the number of questions, but we do encourage some recommendations. So instructors, typically we'd recommend sharing up to 20 questions per assignment, knowing that a lot of our students are going to be taking these on mobile devices, and it can be taxing to have quite a few questions to do in one go. And of course, the larger your file, the longer it can take to upload into the system. How can I send the assignment grades over to my LMS? So to start, we have a export option where you can choose to export all the assignment grades to CSV and import them into your learning management system or your course management system. And remember those improvements that I talked about with the beta label? Well, we're currently working on integrating assignments more closely into the iClicker gradebook, and that would mean you'll get direct LMS syncing with it in the future. On to what's next. All right, so I just hinted at it, but we do have that gradebook integration coming out. The Student Reef iOS and Android apps are also scheduled to come out in the next few weeks. We have availability controls, so I've seen a bunch of questions on timing and whether or not you can be more granular and when it's sent out to your students, and that is definitely on our list, including more result settings. So when you want to show any responses or any results and grades directly to your students. We'll provide some more controls there as well. We're going to be making some improvements to the creation and editing process. So once you create an assignment, giving you more control over how you can adjust that assignment in real time. And student features and notifications. We'll be adding notifications directly into the iClicker Reef apps to let students know when new assignments are created. And there's a ton more. So these are the ones that I've definitely heard the most about as we've been talking to instructors who are using it this summer. If you don't see it on here, it doesn't mean that it's not on our list, but if you do have feedback on something that you'd like to see in order to make it more useful for you or your course, please do send it to us. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, if you want to learn more, you can visit iClicker.com. We have a page dedicated to helping instructors go virtual as remote learning becomes more and more prominent, hybrid classrooms as well. So if you want to find more about iClicker use or assignments itself, you can go there. From that site, you'll also have the opportunity to book a demo or training with iClicker staff. If you need some assistance, we'd be happy to help. And anyone who has an existing account, feel free to sign into your iClicker instructor website and sign in to try it now. And with that, I think we're on to Q&A.
We are. Okay, so we have so many questions and not enough time to get through all of them. So I'm going to try to prioritize and combine these as much as possible. Just a heads up to anybody who asks a question, we will follow up with you. We promise, even if we don't get to it live. Okay, let's start out with this first question to either you, Chrissy, or Diane. Is there a quote unquote best layout for the slides? 4:3, 16:9, as far as that aspect ratio goes?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I typically recommend 16:9. It's the default on Google Slides. It's very close to the default on PowerPoint. Anything that's in landscape mode will typically look pretty good, but I prefer personally 16:9. I don't know, Diane, if you have a different opinion.
16:9 is what I use as well.
All right, cool. We're agreed.
Okay, great. Next question. So you showed our 4 different question types: multiple choice, numeric, target, and short answer. I know we've announced that multiple answer option will be coming soon. When will that be available?
Diane, I'm going to give that one to you on the multiple answer question type.
Okay, yeah, that should be coming out next month. So look for that in August.
And then once it's available more globally in polling, we'll make sure that we get it incorporated into assignments as well shortly after.
Right. Yeah, I should have clarified that. It's going to be releasing right away next month for polling, and then we'll move it into assignments.
I did see also something that was touched upon. It wasn't quite the question, but it kind of aligns to that around anonymous. And so both multiple answer and anonymous polling or anonymous questions are on our list for improving assignments. Right now, the responses are not anonymous.
Okay, next question. Oh, there are so many to get through. Okay, so can I give students extra time to do past assignments?
So what we do allow is the ability to reopen assignments. It's not at the specific student level, but if you do have students that you want to reopen the assignment for, you can move the due date out. Any student that has already submitted, it would have no effect on them.
Okay, perfect. There are a lot of questions about what makes this different from a simple quiz in an LMS. I know you touched on that a little bit before, Chrissy, but I was wondering if you could repeat that, kind of the difference between the assignments feature in iClicker versus quizzing in an LMS.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of overlap for some of the tools that you're already probably using. Mostly what we had heard is that something coming from an LMS could be seen as too high stakes for students. So we often hear that iClicker just feels like a more friendly option. We've also heard that a lot of those tools are cumbersome and difficult to use. And so we really approached it from a simplicity, which is why you may not have as many settings or options, but you can get started and start engaging students very quickly with iClicker. it's totally possible to use both together. And so if you're using iClicker and an LMS, you could use both. You could use either. It could be a good supplement to what you're doing with your LMS to promote participation and encourage students to give you different types of feedback than you might with something like a quiz.
Okay, perfect. Also, I know you answered in the what's next slide on gradebook integration. That's just, you know, a note to more questions coming in about integration with LMS. Right now we have the export feature, and we'll be building on full gradebook integration as we move forward. Just lots of questions about that, so I wanted to point that out.
That is the first thing that we've worked on. So since the assignments first release, we have been working on incorporating it into the iClicker gradebook, and it will be one of the first new features that comes out to it over the next month.
Okay, another question. So in iClicker, we have polling, and then we have quizzing, and now we have assignments. Can you tell the crowd what the difference is between assignments and iClicker quizzing?
Sure. So iClicker quizzing is run as a synchronous class. So it's something that you can do with your students in a more real-time capacity. The open and close of when it's available is entirely in the instructor's control. Typically, that is something that's done with a synchronous type lecture, just because it requires you having the quiz open inside the desktop application. You can use assignments as a possible alternative, and I do see some face-to-face type questions coming in as well. You could open up an assignment and lead it from the front of the room or from the Zoom room, whatever you might be using to facilitate your remote learning options. You could do that as a synchronous option as well. Another difference is that quizzing does not include screenshots, so it would allow you to send images directly to students, and quizzing, you would need to be showing something to the student or having them follow along in, you know, a material that you provide them either through the LMS or some other means through your course.
Okay, and you kind of touched on it in that previous answer. We're getting a lot of folks saying, hey, I'm teaching in a hybrid format where, you know, hybrid is kind of all over the place, but there's a mix of, hey, I'm going to be live in a classroom or streaming video, and then, you know, how could I use assignments in that format? And I think you kind of spoke to that you could use regular polling in that quote unquote live synchronous session, and then post your video lecture, and you can post an assignment alongside it for folks to walk through the polling questions with video.
Yes, exactly. Choices are entirely yours. Polling, you can definitely run it in real time, opening and closing the questions, or provide them through assignments a way to get all of the questions at once and just follow along like Lindsay mentioned.
Okay. There are a lot of requests, Chrissy, just so you know, for us to have a randomizer in here where we can push down random questions over to assignments. So a lot of interest in that.
That is not one that's come up before, so this is already super beneficial to us and our engineering team.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of great recommendations coming through here. Okay, I know we only have a few more minutes, but a person is asking just what you noted about Student Reef, iOS, and Android. Can you just recap that for a couple of folks that might have missed it when they can use it on the app on the phone?
Yeah, so we are currently working on the iOS and Android applications. iOS is scheduled to come out first, so our Apple devices will be supported in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and then Android will shortly follow. I don't have an exact date on it yet, but we do anticipate it coming quickly after that.
Okay, great. Let's see. There's just so many questions. Okay, timing and date. So there were quite a few questions on, can you set a time as well as a date for the due date? Does it default to midnight? What are the rules of engagement around set a specific time with your assignment due date?
Sure. Yeah. So it does open up based on the date that you select. At midnight of the date you select, and then it closes at midnight of the following date that you select. We are looking at adding more specific controls. So when I mentioned, having availability controls, having additional settings, this is one of the first ones that's come up to allow you to choose a more precise time to open and close things. And so definitely look forward to that one coming in short order as well.
Okay, and then I think we might have touched on this, but a person is asking, do students receive immediate feedback on the answers, whether they're right or wrong, or can we delay them getting the grade until the due date?
Yes, so they are currently getting the grade with the due date. Once the student submits the response, their assignment will close for them, and then all of the results and all of your grades will not open to them until the due date passes.
Okay, perfect. So let's see, randomized questions. Just looking through any other questions. Were there any other questions you saw, Christy, that you wanted to be sure to address live?
So I see a question about REEF student study tools. We are looking forward to adding assignments into that as well. We know that the questions that you give them could be super helpful for them to use as study tools later during the course. And so that is also on our list. I'm sorry, it's a really long list.
Yeah, I'm just trying to click through them and get back to you guys as much as possible. There is a question about how do I learn more and a recap on pricing. So we can take that as our last one. So Chrissy, tell us again about pricing, how this works within iClicker, and also what folks can do to learn more or see it again.
Yeah, so it is baked into the cost of iClicker. So if you're currently using it, there's no additional fee for students. We haven't upped the price for assignments as an additional add-on. You can learn more by going to iClicker.com. We have a pricing tab that gives you pretty detailed information, or speaking to one of our representatives on that same site, iClicker.com. You can speak to any sales representative, any customer service representative, and book a demo or a training if you have additional questions that require even more thought out answers. So I definitely suggest going to the website or contacting your sales representative to get more info.
Okay, and then one more question. Sorry, I just wanted to clear this up. We have a few people asking about if students answer in both the synchronous and asynchronous modes. So let's suppose you have a student in the live session answering the polling questions, and then those get reposted for the video with an assignments feature. How would you manage grading of that? Is that just a matter of ignoring the student's second submission?
Yes, you could do it one of two ways. You could open up the assignment to everyone and run both the poll and the assignment, and then manage the grades into a combined gradebook. Or you could manage both as an assignment, and instead of opening polling in real time, have the students follow along with you and navigate through the questions on an assignment as you speak. So there is that option as well of consolidating it all into the assignment. And then students who were not able to attend your real-time or synchronous lesson can do it on their own time afterwards, as long as you keep the availability date open.
Okay, perfect. And sorry, I know we only have 1 more minute left, so I promise this is the last one. We had somebody ask, can you use iClicker through Zoom or any type of video conferencing software?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, iClicker is completely what we like to call content agnostic. So if you are using other tools, if you're using Zoom or Blackboard or any of these other types of solutions that allow you to present to your students, iClicker works seamlessly with no additional import needed. So definitely an option for you.
Okay, perfect. Well, we got through as many questions as we have. If we didn't get to your question live, we do promise that we'll follow up with you. Thank you so much, Chrissy and Diane, for that thorough overview and for submitting to a ton of questions from us. That was very appreciated. So just as a follow-up, keep in mind, you can go to iClicker.com, schedule a demo or training with us. We're happy to go more in depth in a one-on-one session with you on this, and let us know if you have any questions at all. We will be following up with a recording within a day or two. Thank you.
Everyone.